Most people believe that articles simply need to be memorized by heart, and unfortunately there is some truth to that. Let me give you the bitter pill straight away. Yes, you do need to learn them. But there's also good news. There are actually certain signals that can help us predict which article a noun is going to take. These signals can be either morphological, for example endings, or semantic, meaning that certain categories of things tend to have a certain gender in German. Now, I want to say immediately that you can't fully understand or learn the entire German gender system simply by relying on these lists of endings or semantic groups. Unfortunately, these endings and groups probably only cover around 20-ish, 30-ish% of active vocabulary, maybe a bit more if we include word formation and more advanced vocabulary building later on. For example, once you reach B1 or B2, if you create or encounter a new word ending in ung, you automatically know it's feminine. One of the students of mine once came up with the word kotzung. Absolutely adorable. But that's already a more advanced stage. At beginner level, we are not talking about occasionalisms or creative word formation yet. So yes, the system is complex. Basic words, older ones, core vocabulary often give us absolutely no morphological signs or signals at all. Words like das Haus, das Tier, der Tisch, der Kopf, das Brot, they're connected. So there is no semantic clue, no helpful ending, no nothing. Those simply need to be learned. And honestly, that's part of the beauty of it. Because the more you learn, the more the system starts organizing itself in your brain. Neural connections strengthen and the language slowly settles into place. At some point, usually around C1, something fascinating begins to happen. You see completely new words you've never encountered before, and somehow you just know it's article. Even if there are no visible signals, no familiar ending, no semantic category, you still feel it intuitively, and that only comes with time. It's something you need to accept and ideally even learn to enjoy. The brain is an extraordinary thing. Really, if you learn properly, you really won't have any problems. Just like me. I learned it. If I could do that, you can do it as well. Imagine your brain is some kind of AI system. If you interact with it consistently for several months, let's say, and feed it enough information, eventually it starts predicting patterns on its own. It begins writing almost like you would write or sounding almost like you would sound. Learning languages works in a very similar way. The system simply needs time to settle. So in the beginning, yes, we learn articles. There is no need to torture yourself, right? At A1 level, learning 10 nouns a day with articles is perfectly enough. Then later, usually around lesson 5 or 10, I would start introducing this mnemonic on my course. I'm showing it on the screen, by the way, right now. I don't know where. So you can just download it for free from my website or make a screenshot. And again, I don't recommend cramming. I teach people how to learn, not how to memorize mechanically. So you don't need to sit there drilling endings endlessly. You can literally just pause the video and look at the table carefully and consciously. With that word, what is that very modern word? With awareness. What do we see here? We see feminine endings, morphological signals such as ung, heit, keit, schaft, and so on. These endings automatically signal that a noun is feminine. And in this specific group, there are no exceptions to this rule. Keep in mind that there are some endings which can point either to masculinum or neutrum. Again, don't memorize them aggressively. Don't invent silly rhymes. I literally despise them, by the way. Silly rhymes are stupid. Just look at them carefully and allow your brain to remember them naturally. Why is this useful? Because later, when you encounter a word like Aufenthaltsgenehmigung, every expert's favorite word, by the way, you immediately know it's feminine. Not because you forced yourself to memorize it, but because your brain recognizes the pattern. Then we'll also have masculine and neutral groups as well as semantic categories. For example, one of probably most memorable masculine category is car brands. So they're all masculine in German. Der BMW, der Mercedes, der Opel, and so on. I honestly don't think this table needs much more explanation. You can open it, download it, make a screenshot, and simply absorb it over time. So to summarize, the system becomes extremely helpful once you already have a small foundation of nouns and a basic feeling for gender in German. I would not recommend starting with these abstract patterns immediately, especially if your native language doesn't even have this grammatical gender as a concept. It's much better to begin with basic everyday words. Das Wort, die Katze, der Tisch, der Laptop, and so on. And only later start absorbing these patterns gradually. And Eselsbrücke literally means a donkey bridge. A bridge that helps a little donkey to get from one side to the other. So sweet. One final thing, please don't listen to random people on YouTube telling you that articles don't need to be learned. Some students have sent me videos like that, and honestly, it's a very strange claim. Can you technically speak without articles? Of course, but you also understand how that sounds to a native speaker, especially once you've reached, say, B1 or higher. The thing is, expectations change at every level. You can't speak forever as though you've just attended your very first free trial lesson. At C2, for example, speaking with consistently incorrect or missing articles would sound very odd. Though, interestingly enough, by C2 articles usually settle naturally anyway, precisely because the entire language system has already organized itself inside your brain. So please don't listen to people promising you effortless fluency without learning and without anything. That's usually just marketing, and moreover, it's stupid. Anything truly meaningful requires effort. And honestly, that's wonderful. The brain is designed for action, thought, learning, and adaptation. Yes, it likes to conserve energy too, but learning is absolutely essential for its functioning. Learning is one of the fundamental engines of evolution itself. So learn, enjoy it, embrace the idea that learning is necessary and it is good for your brain, because in many ways, learning is survival. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel for more lessons. Probably I'm going to be recording some lessons and more gimmicks how to learn German, or actually any language. Tschüssli, Müsli.